my Band-Aid. That's funny.
Play ball! Blue 22!
You are watching Sports and Sorts live on YouTube. That's 75% sports, 25% sorts. And here are your hosts, Shane and the Bry Man.
Yes, we are back. We are back. Got a little music in the background now and everything too. It is Monday morning, and it is Memorial Day.
It is.
And we are here, and a little later than normal, but that's just because it's a day that we have off. So there was no real rush to get things done. But it is Memorial Day. We want to give thanks to all of the veterans out there who are no longer with us. And you, I think if I put just a camera on you, you have a nice little picture in your
I
background.
do, of my uncle. Yep. That's my uncle Rosario Cristina, who we lost unfortunately in Korea. So a hero that I never got to meet, but I keep that picture in my family room, and I actually have his casket flag in our dining room. So
Wow.
that we prominently display all year. So
Yeah.
yeah, and you know what, and you know what was weird, and I don't know if it's true, but as the kids would say, I was today years old when I found out, because I was doing some research on him this morning.
Yeah.
I found out, and again, I don't know if it's true. I'm trying to confirm it with my dad.
Yeah.
But in addition to, because this doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but in addition to serving as a corporal in the U.S. Army and losing his life in Korea, he apparently also was in the Navy in World War II, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but it's on. So I looked on, there's a couple of websites where you can, look up a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And he's listed on both of those websites as having served in the Navy in World War II. And he has, apparently in his list of honors, he has a World War II service medal.
Huh. So
I sent that to my dad, and my dad just responded with a text that said, "What?" I'm trying to figure it out, but I don't know if it's real. I mean, both of these websites do say that some of the information could be inaccurate, you don't know, but, crazy though. I don't know. I'm trying to find out. The problem is that my dad at this point would be the only source living who could probably confirm any of this.
Right.
So with any definition, I mean, unless I pursued it to the point of going to if you could look it up on, a Navy website or something like that. I'm going to see if I can find anything out, but it's weird in a way to me. I have always felt an incredible connection to this man who, again, died 27 years before I was born. And I honestly do. I really think about him every day. I walk by that picture every day. It's very prominent in our family room. It's right underneath our TV on our TV stand. So, I look at it every day. I would also like to recognize my my wife's grandfather, John Oliver Therian, who was a World War II vet. He died not in combat. He died. What did he die? About 5 or 6 years ago, and he was well into his 90s. He was in his late 90s when he passed away, but was also a World War II vet. So yeah, thank you to all our servicemen and women. You make us proud, and you exemplify the courage and bravery that many of us don't have, So we salute you, not just today, but every single day. So thank you.
Yeah, well said. All right, so what we'll do here is we're going to get on to we're going to kind of switch gears here, and we're going to head on over into a little sports on this Monday. Got a little frog in my throat. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little sports. We're going to get into just a briefly touch on the PGA something that happened yesterday, which will lead us into something else, PGA related. So yesterday, Jordan Spieth went into Sunday leading the pack, ended up coming up a little short, kind of collapsed toward the end, even with Jason Kokrak, which is one of the best or worst last names that you could ever have. I was telling Brian, it sounds like, something that Al Pacino's character, Scarface, would have done in that movie, lots of Kokraks. But
it's got to be like a measure of lines. It's got to be like 10 lines, right? Like a rack.
Yeah.
Like a rack of like a rack. You do a rack of Coke. It's got to be like 10. How did we jump from like Memorial Day into like hardcore drugs?
That's what happens when you talk golf.
I guess so. We went from Memorial Day, very somber, to golf, to snorting lines of Coke.
Yeah,
in like less than a minute.
That's what happens when you talk golf. I told you, golf's crazy, man. It's
I don't know what that says about our show.
Great sport. So anyway. We have Jason Kokrak, who actually was doing his job as kind of collapsing himself down the end. Like not a good bunker player, hit the ball in the bunker, hit a bad bunker shot, missed the putt. But Jordan Spieth couldn't cash in and actually played worse than Kokrak down the stretch. Even hit the ball in the water on the last hole when he needed to birdie. And he was just coming up short with his irons all day. He was just did not have it. And I don't think it's the pressure. I just don't know what it was. He just was off his game 100% on. And he didn't really have his A game the whole weekend, which is impressive. That he was, in such command of the lead for most of the week. But yeah, it was just not good. But I just wanted to kind of touch on that because, Jordan Spieth did collapse a little bit, but I don't think it was really a pressure thing. I think it was just more of I don't know if his body was tired or I don't know. His swing wasn't great, but he definitely did not show up on Sunday. I think he was like 2 over, maybe 3 over on the day, and he did not play well.
But since we didn't have a show last week,
yes, we're going to touch on.
Who did show up last Sunday was,
and he made it very apparent during his interview after his opening 3 over par round at Charles Schwab. He said, "Yeah, I opened up with a 3 over, but I won the PGA, so."
Yeah.
And we were talking about that because we played golf. Yeah. We played golf on Friday.
Well, you played golf. I don't know what I did.
You played golf?
I was sort of a spectator.
You had some good shots out there.
I had maybe 5 good shots.
Well, in a scramble, that's all you needed.
Hey, you know what, though? Because of the way that we played, which was you giving us every possible advantage you could to, ensure that Cash and I won. But I did hit a shot. It was a chip shot onto the green that actually probably sealed it.
That was a good shot. That was in what, hole 17?
Yeah.
And you were mad. You were mad. You were like, oh,
because I wanted it to
ran out. It didn't check up.
Yeah. It went like
it's not going to run out of that rough.
Far.
What are you talking about?
Well, that's
what's going to run out of the rough.
That's what happens though when you don't play well.
Yeah.
But then you do hit a good shot. You really want you want it to either go in or you want it to be even closer to the pit. Because you only get to revel in a handful of moments when you're a player like I am. So you want to maximize those moments. That's why I get mad.
Yeah.
So you also recall there were some putts that I barely missed, and I got mad that they didn't go in.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, fuck, how many moments like this am I gonna have? I need that to roll in.
I tell you, my favorite point, and this is obviously for me only, and because my favorite point was, I think it was on hole 15. I think it was 15, where I had my second shot. I flew the green to the right a little bit. You guys were deep a little left. You were on you were on the fringe of the green to the rough. It was that second cut, which was not an easy chip or a putt, whatever which way you were going to try and do it. And I had a chip that was kind of going. I was uphill a little bit, but at the same time had thick rough and a nice little downhill slope to the pin.
Mm.
And I hit that ball and it was going right at the pin and it looked like it was going in. It hit. And then as soon as it went in, I was like fired up because I chipped the ball, I chipped it in and I looked over at you guys and you both just kind of were like, looked at each other like, really? Like,
Yeah.
You thought you had me on that hole.
And then you hold out early.
On
what,
the second hole. Yeah.
Two, yeah.
Out of the bunker.
Which was a par 3.
Yeah,
out of the bunker,
I chipped in
which
from
was
the
beautiful.
bunker. Yeah, that was
very
nice.
much like Phil on 5.
Yeah,
on Sunday.
Except I didn't win the PGA. I actually
You
lost
didn't
that
win the
match.
PGA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I lost.
well, I mean,
I lost what? I think you guys were up 1. Is that what you guys won by?
Yeah, it was 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We played match play, and
Yeah, but you gave us a stroke on every hole. Let's be clear about what happened here.
And it was a good match. It was fun. You guys were starting to run away with it early. And then I went like birdie, like it was like par, birdie, like I was like.
But that was your best round of the year, right? You were 2 over.
Yeah, it's my best round in a long time.
It's very impressive.
Overall, I think I was 3 over par. Three. Over.
I thought you were 2.
No, because I bogeyed the last hole.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I put myself in a bad spot, and I misread the putt, and it's not good. But yeah, so I ended up 3 over for the day.
But you were very consistent all day. I mean, really consistent. Yeah. I don't remember really a bad shot from you. I mean, I'm sure you do, but
yeah,
there weren't many.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that shot that led to that chip in was not a good shot. I kind of flared it out to the right.
Those get forgotten when you get the chip in. The chip in kind of erases that.
I tell you, like my putter was not good. My putter was okay.
I'm sure Phil doesn't on that 5th hole at the PGA doesn't really remember the first shot going into the bunker on that par 3.
I bet he does.
I'm sure he does because he's a pro, and but I'm sure that it didn't sting quite as badly when he holed out.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it was I was very consistent. I was flag hunting most of the day. I left myself a lot of 10-foot birdies opportunities, and my putter just wasn't there. It just was I was near the hole, just wasn't getting many. I
feel like you could have parred that if you had just hit a couple of those. Yeah. If you had hit 3 of them, I guess.
Yeah, I had a couple lip outs. I had
there
was because I hit a driver off the tee off of 1 hole that I never hit driver. And I hit it. I was like, I'm going to aim towards that tree because I don't think I could reach it. Unfortunately, I ended up hitting it 305 yards and I reached the tree and I was behind it. So I had to punch it up on towards the green and I couldn't get on the green really.
Yep.
So it was a rough go. But normally I would have been, if I aimed towards a different tree now, like that, the next tree over, I'd be better. It'd be much better.
The only thing I wanted to mention very quickly about Phil, and because you and I talked about this, I think maybe on the course, was because I am a Phil fan. You're a Phil fan. He's our favorite golfer.
Yes.
So what happened last Sunday was completely out of left field. We just did not see that coming. And and it was such a special moment.
We did mention it, and we both kind of were like, he has to be on.
All
week. And I said that he kind of had to be on with his putter. And his putter wasn't super hot. What was super hot was his driver.
His driver, yeah. Oh yeah. He was not hitting a lot of wayward shots out of bounds, kind of have to drop the ball kind of stuff that you might see out of him in a major when he collapses.
Yeah.
But the question that I thought was interesting, because I had asked it myself, and then I was, as I told you, I was watching the PGA channel, which I very rarely ever do. I actually had to look it up because I didn't know what channel it was, but I couldn't get enough Phil coverage. It was just such a special, like I said, I just did not expect him to win that. I expected him to collapse on Sunday, or not even collapse so much as maybe just get fatigued. He's a 50-year-old guy. I just thought maybe okay, it's just not going to happen. But I couldn't get enough coverage. So on that channel, this was at night. This was 10 o'clock at night. They had this panel of guys asking this question, does this win, which gives him his 6th major, ties him for 12th in terms of majors won all time. does this put him in the top 10 of golfers? And I thought it was a great question, because if you want to go just on majors alone, well, no, of course not. There's a lot of guys ahead of him still. I mean, right there, it ties him for 12th. So you know that there's another 11 guys ahead of him, 12 guys ahead of him, or 12 ahead or tied with him.
Mm-hmm.
But the magnitude of this particular win, of being the oldest to win a major, and frankly, the oldest by almost 3 years to win a major, is really rarefied air. It's, in terms of that particular statistic, it's the most rarefied of air, right? I mean, you're talking about a guy who was almost 51 years old winning a major championship. I mean, it's just not a typical golf thing at this age to not only win but compete in a major. And to do it in a final pairing where you are paired with a guy in Brooks Koepka, who is a majors winning machine at a young age. There was I mean, just imagine the pressure of being in that final pairing with him. And you know, you've got guys ahead of you like Oosthuizen who are playing really well, very solid. You know, you've got there's other guys. What was his name? Kevin, Streelman there, who was kind of he was in it, you know. But to be in that final pairing, you know, on this particular day with a guy like Koepka, and to be able to best him and to win this tournament at that age, it's a differentiator. It's something that stands out. And until it happens again and or gets surpassed, it will always stand out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's a great question. I would really have to think about it. I don't know if it puts him in the top 10, but I think we can definitively say at this point, he's probably a top 15 golfer all time. I think we could say that. I
think with ease.
I
think he's top 10.
I mean, if you're asking me, I will say yes, but I admit that I'm biased.
I don't know how people could really argue too heavily that he's not.
Well, I guess it just goes, if it's just because you and I mean, like, so like you and I were talking about, like, go ahead. Like right off the top, you know, Nicklaus is 1, Tiger's 2, Arnie's probably 3. Mm-hmm. Then you're getting into the Gary Players, the Ben Hogans, the Bobby Jones, the Walter Hagens. So, I mean, you know, you're getting into legendary rarefied air, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that, you know, because you have Sam Snead, you have all these guys.
I think Snead, Watson.
I don't think Snead's better. I don't think Snead's better. I don't think Watson's better. I think Watson's close. Watson's
yeah, he's in the
he's in the mix. But like, yep. I think Snead, I think Hagen, those guys are not. Like, I don't think that they are, and I think it really has to do with like competition level. Like, you have to give people like Gary Player their
Hagen and Jones had each other at the time,
but that was it.
Yeah, I mean it was. It's tough. It's like that. It's like that
Phil,
generational. It's like that generational tennis argument, you know. Like Sampras had Agassi,
right?
But he also had other guys. He had Boris Becker, you know, Yvonne Lendl. I mean, there were other guys.
And you also you have to think about it this way too. Like, you know, Player and, you know, even Palmer towards the end of his career, and all of these guys, they were up against Jack Nicklaus. Which is arguably the greatest golfer of a long time. And then you have, and you know, even Watson, they all went up against him. And then you have Phil.
Phil had Tiger.
And Tiger and Ernie Els.
And a lot of guys.
All these really talented golfer.
Yeah.
But look who's standing the test of time.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about Phil is
like Ernie Els is not competing.
No, he's not. That's a very special thing, because when Phil beat Ernie head-to-head in the 2004 Masters to win his first major, those two were equals at that point. I mean, they really were. Ernie was a great golfer, a big physical dude too.
Smooth swing,
really
big easy.
Yeah, he really did. He was really good underrated golfer. Yeah. And yes, where's Ernie Els now? And Phil, you could argue, I'm not gonna sit here and say something stupid like he's at the top of his game. But man, where he is at now, though, that's the other thing that I think maybe could catapult him into the top 10 is the evolution of Phil Mickelson, not just the physical, because let's be honest, he's transformed his body, but mentally, his approach to the game is so distinct from what it was 5 to 10 years ago. Like he's not the big risk-taking gambler anymore. He's a much more conservative and intelligent golfer. I think a lot of that has to do with his brother being his caddy, who I think has really reined in his game quite a bit. But listen, just the fact that you and I can sit here and talk about whether or not Phil Mickelson is now a top 10 golfer is tremendous. The only thing left, and I don't want to get crazy, but the only thing left is to finish out that career slam and get that U.S. Open. I don't know he can do it. It's maybe relatively speaking the hardest major to win. I mean that or the British is tough because of the conditions, but man, if he could win the U.S. Open, fuck, that would be awesome. Mm-hmm. I mean, that would be like. I mean, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed this so much. I was texting you. I was literally in tears last Sunday. I really was. I was just so genuinely happy for him and in general. I mean, it just was that ended up being such a great sports day because the Yankees won in a walk-off and then Phil won later that night.
Right.
And it was just but Phil, man, oh God, that is an all-time golf moment right there. It really is. A near 51-year-old man, and let's be honest, dude, he was in control the whole week.
Yeah. Like
that's the other thing. He wasn't up big and then came down. Although actually I shouldn't say that. He was actually up big. At one point he was up 4 strokes. I think even on Sunday he was up 4 strokes. But he was always in the hunt is the point. He was, he never got too far down and he definitely never got too far down. And he got up, but he never got like dominantly up. I think 4 was his biggest lead, which is good, but not insurmountable. I mean, we've seen guys with bigger leads collapse in majors, but the point is he was in control most of the week. That's a real testament.
Yeah.
Right there to just the consistency. Cause more than anyone as a really good golfer, how hard is it to maintain that for 4 straight days?
Oh, it's tough.
And to keep that up like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you, man, it was an unbelievable moment. And I hope there's one more left. And if there is, I hope it's that US Open. And you know what? This would be the year. One, because mentally he's in the right frame of mind. Physically, he's in the best shape of his life. And also that course, Torrey Pines in San Diego, is in his backyard.
Yeah.
So,
I actually, I just posted the first Twitter poll today on Instagram. I mean, on Twitter. Is Phil Mickelson a top 10 golfer of all time? Yes,
I mean, I know you and I will vote yes.
So
I will go and vote yes.
That is the Twitter poll out there right now. Lots of tags in it. Hopefully we'll get some votes. So let's see what happens. I will be shocked if yes is not there, because I don't think people are really doing the research. I think they're just saying because they don't like Phil. They don't like lefty. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'll be interested to see how it plays.
I mean, the only argument is if you just want to go with strictly major count. That's probably the best argument against, but it might be the only argument against.
That's not a great argument, though.
No, I agree with you.
Because, I mean, he also has a ton of second-place finishes.
And he's won how many? 45 PGA tournaments?
I think it's more than that now, isn't it?
It's in the mid-40s.
Yeah, I might even say it's close to 50. Let's see. I'll look it up right now. Oh man, laggy. I gotta shut this. I gotta stop using this computer. Oof, so laggy. I wonder if we're getting laggy. Let's see what he's got here. He has 45 on the dot.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was 45.
He's got 6 majors. He has finished second place 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in the U.S. Open.
That's brutal. Listen. That would be his negative legacy if he does not win that tournament. That's at some point.
That's not negative. That's not negative though. That's just you.
Well,
that's impressive. That's very. I look at that and I'm like, that is really impressive.
No, what I'm saying, that won't be his legacy. I'm saying that would be the negative part of it.
Right.
That's all I'm saying, because that is the ultimate bridesmaid statistic right there.
Yes.
Yeah. So
for sure.
All right. What's next?
All right. Let's get into.
Can we talk baseball? I mean, I don't want to bring it down, but
yeah, we can get. I think
I really need to. We need to talk about the Yankees.
All right. Well, let's. Here's the state of the Yankees. Or do you want to talk baseball, or do you want to say the Yankees?
Yankees.
All right.
Let's do the state of the moribund Yankees, which is a word I get to use very often, but I think it's very apropos.
All right, the Yankees. So let's throw a little music in there too. All right,
I gotta tell you, man.
You got the Yankees here, man. Yankees are. You had sent to me rock bottom Yankees.
Yes.
Yes. Do I think it's a rock? Do I think they've hit rock bottom? I don't think they've hit rock bottom. They're still in the middle of the pack right now. I think they could be playing much worse, but they are not playing well. They are playing poorly. And
you cannot get swept by the Detroit Tigers,
right? And that
can't.
And that you can say that happens every year to every Yankee team. They just don't perform against a bottom tier team. Like, it just happens from time to time. Now, with that being said, I have not been keeping that close of an eye on the Yankees this year because, for one, they're, like we have talked about in the past, that they're boring. Two, they are performing like a bunch of clowns. And three, there is just no energy. There's no like motivation.
Correct.
There's
correct.
Nothing like it comes from the leadership down. And this is something we've talked about in the past. And I'm just tired of it. I want to see some changes. They need to, like, you have to 100%. It's time. You have to move Gary Sanchez out of the catcher spot. He's done. He can't do it. He can't do it. Now you have to see if you can salvage his career by just having him DH and hope that he has some sort of David Ortiz kind of comeback like that. Like, he comes back and starts raking because all he has to focus on is hitting.
Yeah. Well, he's going to have to find the same thing that David Ortiz found, which is either the hole in his swing or an immense amount of steroids.
Yeah,
but
regardless of that, like, if he can come back and just focus on the one thing that made him what he is, and that is a hitter, then maybe you can salvage something. But you have to shake it up. You have to say goodbye to one of these guys in the outfield. Particularly not really a guy who plays the outfield very often. That's Stanton. You have to figure out a way to get him out of here. And
you got to eat most of that contract.
You're going to have to eat most of it, at least half, probably. You're not going to get a ton back for him. You'll get something. Hopefully, some good role players. Maybe some potential upside draft picks or something like that. I don't know, but. Maybe. You have to get rid of him. You have to free up some room because you can't have a cohesive unit if there's not a cohesive unit out there playing regularly.
Yep.
And I think as of right now, Mr. Kyle behind the backstop is a much better option.
Yeah, and even at that, he's not that good.
He's not great,
I like him.
But he's a better option.
Him. Yes, he is a better option. And he's certainly a better option defensively. That's not even up for debate.
Yeah, and not arm-wise. Not arm-wise.
Yeah, no, Sanchez does have a cannon.
Sanchez has the best arm as a catcher in baseball. But,
yeah, he probably does.
But he's just he can't
too
catch
bad.
the ball.
Relatively speaking, nothing else in his game behind the plate matches up with his arm. Yeah. Again, relatively speaking. Here's you touched on one thing that I want to touch on, which is the future of the franchise. But first, let's just talk about this Yankee team right now. So they've lost 5 of 6. They lost 2 of 3 to Toronto. They went into Detroit and got absolutely embarrassed. They got walked off on Friday night. and then they were non-competitive in 2 games. Not completely non-competitive.
Mm-hmm.
They are getting back to that stage now where they were at earlier in the season, where they would get down and it was like a knockout punch. You just knew there was zero chance they were going to pick themselves up
Right.
and come back. You just knew it. And they are right back to being that again. Now, this team, and then, but oddly, before that, I still cannot figure out how they swept. How the fuck did they sweep the Chicago White Sox? I still cannot figure that out. That is a team that is superior to them in almost every single way. Certainly in terms of the lineup. Maybe it was just the Yankees were at the tail end of a stretch where they had been playing pretty well and somehow they were able to sneak 3 out against the White Sox.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't know how you go from playing like that to then just completely shit in the bed against the Blue Jays and the lowly Detroit Tigers. And when I say lowly, I'm talking like that is bottom of the barrel, scraping the bottom of it. Worst teams in baseball discussion. I mean, that's let's be very honest about where the Tigers are.
Yeah.
Okay, that's who they are. This Yankees team has neither style nor substance. There is nothing about them, and you touched on that a few minutes ago. There's nothing about this team that stands out. There's no chemistry. There's no juice. There's no affection for each other. There's nothing. When you look at this team on the bench, they look like a beaten team before they could be winning and you wouldn't even know it.
Right.
And their best moment of the year, which was the Corey Kluber no-hitter, even that, as much as I enjoyed it, because I don't care what you say about no-hitters. I know that there have been 6 of them this year, which I know says something probably more about the state of baseball and pitching than it does necessarily about how special the moment was.
Yeah.
But even that, mostly because of Kluber and his fucking attitude. Not that I like the guy. He's super intense. I get it. And he is an old school guy, which of course I appreciate.
Yeah.
But it just lacked something. Like there was just, no.
I told you.
The team.
I sent you like gifts. I was like, this is what I'm used to when no hitters and perfect games happen. And I was sending you clips of like David Cohn and David Wells.
David
and
Cohn
I hate David
collapsing to his knees and Girardi pulling him in and protecting him and the team just jumping on him like they'd won the World Series. Right. David Wells being carried off the field.
Gooden, like all
Doc
of these.
Gooden's no hitter. Jim Abbott's was so great.
Yeah, and like that's what I'm used to.
Right. When this was just happens. Like he just kind of like barely threw his arms up in the air. The team was significantly more excited.
And they came out and just like high-fived each other. Like, it was like they just got into the line and just started high-fiving each other.
They were. I mean, if you go back and watch it again, they tried to like pull him into it. It just couldn't happen.
It doesn't matter. You don't. There has been plenty of players who didn't want shine on them. And you get roped into it. They just don't care. Like they're just like, oh yeah, all right.
What's really incredible is that was nearly a perfect game too. Right. I mean, if you watch that game end to end, which I did, you could tell right from the first inning, like, ooh, he's got good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then by the third inning, you're like, I mean, the way the ball was coming out of his hand and his ability to locate that game. And the swings and misses, that's the stuff that was telling you like this. Let's see where he's at. Let's see where he's at in the 5th. Because after the 5th is when I start to really kind of pay attention.
Yeah. You
get through 5 and your pitch count is low.
Yeah, you were texting me dominant. Like the 7th. I didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh. And then I turned it on and I watched the rest of it. And I was like,
yeah. And
his stuff was still super sharp.
Oh, it was filthy right till the end. And I was super into that. And I was literally like standing in front of the TV with like bending down with like my hands on my knees watching it. I really wanted that moment for him and for the team because it had been so many years, over 20 years since they'd had one of those. And it just, I was super into it, but I'll be the first to objectively say and admit that it lacked something. Yeah, and just like this team in general has lacked all year. Now, here's the other thing. Real quick, we're now at the 1/3 point of the season, almost exactly. This team, to me, they are who they are. They are 5 games over 500. If you want to average that out and multiply it times 3, okay, fine. You're talking about a team that might be 15 games over. That puts them in like the 87 win range. Is that a team that's making the playoffs? No, don't kid yourself. Not in this. Not when you've got 2 teams ahead of you that are at this point significantly better in the Red Sox and the Rays. And then even the Blue Jays, who I know are only a couple games over 500, but are now, only a game and a half behind the Yankees, who at least are dangerous enough with their lineup to be competitive. I will not be shocked even a little bit if the Yankees finish third in this division. Fourth, I'd probably be really shocked, but that would tell me a lot about what needs to happen. Now, let's talk about that very quickly because you touched on it. We were actually, so the Yankees chat group was texting each other this week throughout this entire disaster of a weekend. And I am dead serious when I tell you this. There are like maybe 4 guys to me on this Yankee team that I would deem to be untouchable in terms of either trade or just letting go. Garrett Cole's one because you just have to have an ace. You have to. There are only a handful of guys in the league who can do what Garrett Cole does. If you have one of them, you have to keep that person. Okay. Number two would be your boy DJ LeMahieu. I mean, you signed him to a 6-year, $90 million contract, so that couldn't be a possibly more team-friendly contract for a guy who's probably worth significantly more than that. He's got to be part of your long-term plans.
Yeah.
Number 3, Gleyber Torres. Mm-hmm. Just, you don't let kids like that go. He has shown you enough over the course of time to let you know that, okay, this guy needs to be part of this team in the long term. And then honestly, my last guy, and I'm not joking about this, Gio Urshela. That guy has proven time and time again since Brian Cashman pulled him off the scrap heap that he is possibly the best defending third baseman in baseball, and he is as clutch a hitter as this team has right now. And after that, and I'm including Aaron Judge on this, I could not care less who you let go from this team. Wow. I could not care less. To me, it's those 4 guys and move on. If you want to upend this entire organization and blow it up but keep those 4 guys, fine by me. That is completely fine by me. And you know what? And I'm not saying that I don't like Aaron Judge. I do like Aaron Judge, but I believe his numbers, as good as they look on paper, I really think are very hollow in a lot of ways too. He is, to me, he's a good baseball player. I would not call him a great baseball player. I think he's a good player. He can hit in spurts. Mm-hmm. I question his ability to be clutch. Even he finally got his first quote unquote walk off of the year, and it wasn't even a hit. I mean, no, not of the year. His first walk off ever in his career, and it wasn't even a hit. It was a walk walk, which was actually on Phil's PGA Championship Sunday. That was the walk off that they got. It was a Aaron Judge walk. Mm-hmm. Aaron Judge finally gets his walk off moment, and it's a base on balls. And that, you know what? That probably speaks a lot about the Yankees this year too. That's sort of a microcosm of their season. Just bland. Like even when they win, it's not fun. It's not even enjoyable. It's like, okay, well, we got the dub, but wow, we couldn't even. And that's what I'm saying. Like this team doesn't give you anything. There's just no spark. There's nothing there. I said from the beginning of the season, I felt like this was an all or nothing Yankees team. And I believe now firmly it's going to fall into the nothing category. When I say nothing, I mean not playoffs. Wow. I felt like they were either going to win it all or they were not going to make the playoffs. I do not believe they're making the playoffs. Wow. I really don't. And I stick very firmly by what I just said about those 4 guys that I would retain on this team and nothing beyond that. And that includes my quote unquote favorite player, Clint Frazier, who is just, oh my God. The bat speed is there. He can't hit a lick, though. Like, he swings and misses through pitches that I think I almost could hit. I mean, I don't know what's going on.
I will say, the one thing that I do wish that I was able to see this week or this past week was Florial. I wish I could have saw him and his 3 at-bats.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't anything...
I mean, he went 1 for 3. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it was anything outstanding.
He had a double.
But I will tell you this. Yes, he did. That was a nice hit. I will tell you this. I'd rather see him on the field every day than 38-year-old broken down Brett Gardner. I mean, come on. Just, like, and if you're the Yankees, see, that's the problem with this team too. unlike that team, what was that team many years ago? Where remember when they had to bring up Robinson Cano out of just like necessity because they had nobody, and he bloomed.
Yeah,
that's the problem with this Yankee team is they are going to very tentatively approach how they bring guys up like that because they still view themselves as competitive.
Well, not only that, but they don't want to spend money. And, the quicker you bring people up and all that kind of stuff, the more you have to pay them earlier, and they're
true. You get the clocks. Yeah. You get the clock started on them.
And they're just morons. Like, who cares? Just like you're the Yankees, you
play
need
the
to
kids. Win. I would just like,
and at least if you have some young kids like that are fighting, like, to make their career, and then you have
also
like Giancarlo Stanton. As much as I know that he would love to win a World Series, I just don't see like he feels like he has much to prove. Like, even except for staying on the field, and even then, like he gets hurt all the time.
If that's his measuring stick, then he's not proving himself because he can't stay on the field.
Like, he gets hurt all the time,
and he's only a DH.
Right?
He doesn't even play the field.
Right?
And he's hurt constantly. I mean,
it's brutal.
It is.
And I don't know how much of that is like him and how much is the Yankees. Like, I don't know, because he never got hurt like this. He hasn't been hurt like this. I mean, he gets hurt every single year for long periods of time.
Yeah.
Like, someone that's in that good a shape really shouldn't be that.
I don't know if going back a few years ago, if Brian Cashman actually had the choice with Derek Jeter between Stanton and Yelich, but did he fuck that up.
Nobody saw Yelich coming like that.
Ooh, I wanted Yelich.
But nobody saw him becoming an MVP type player.
Oh, I'll agree with you on that, but at the time, I remember being like, God, I really would have rather had Yelich.
Well, of course.
So
he's a two-way player. Like,
and he was,
and you wouldn't have had to spend anywhere near as much money for him. Like, but that's not what Cashman wanted. Cashman wanted the big bat. But then, then he got the big bat, and then he kept on getting more and more big bats. But they all strike out.
It's just a team of, God, they strike out a lot. It's a hard team to. They're, first of all, they're very difficult to watch, and they're even harder to root for. They're not likable.
No,
it's not a likable team.
No,
I don't know. It's there could be some thin years coming for Yankee fans here. There really could. This team might need a way bigger overhaul than you think on the surface. They really might.
Yeah, I mean, and your boy Yelich has not been playing well the last 2 years. I know he didn't have a good year last year, but I just looked at this year's stats.
Yeah, where's he at?
Batting .250.
That's still better than a lot of Yankees.
I mean, his on-base percentage is almost .400, but
I can count on a full. Yeah, that's what makes it acceptable.
But
I can count on a full hand how many Yankees are not hitting at the Mendoza line right now.
He's got 64 at-bats and 25 strikeouts. And he's got 5 home runs.
Everybody is striking
14
out.
14 RBIs. He's just not.
You know what, though?
He's got 16 hits in 21 games.
Really? Well, that's a lot. That's not many games either. Well,
No.
he must have been hurt. So he's been hurt for more than half the year so far. Yeah, listen, I just don't see any scenario. And then, you know what? And this is going to be the week, this week right here. I'm not saying you can. Listen, you can't win anything in May or June, but you can lose something in May or June. And this week right here, Rays for 4, Red Sox for 3. I don't even know what the best case scenario is for them this week. Like a realistic best case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
I think the realistic best case scenario is honestly going 3 and 4. And I think the worst case scenario is, I don't think they'll get swept. I think they'll eke a game in there somewhere, but I could see 1 and 6 or 2 and 5 happening. I really, really could. These are teams that, I'm sorry, at this particular moment are significantly better and healthier than the Yankees. So that's probably a good or bad place to end, depending on your perspective.
All right. So I want to give you real quick, touch on the Twitter poll. We have Phil Mickelson, top 10. Is he a top 10 player of all time?
Yeah. Yes. I'm going to say that.
So far, 4 votes, all for yes.
Oh, there you go.
It's only been like 10 minutes. Okay. And then last week I'll just dive in real quick to our NFL Twitter poll about where do you think Aaron Rodgers goes this offseason? We had the Broncos, Packers, Jeopardy, and some other team. Broncos, 50% of the vote. Packers, 37.9. Jeopardy, 6.9. Some other team, 5.2. With 58 total votes.
He's going to the Broncos. I'm sorry, that's happening. It's just a matter of when. It really is. I don't see any scenario under which it doesn't happen. I think there are only two likely scenarios.
Yeah. One
is Broncos, two is retirement, which means Jeopardy.
Yeah.
So, because he's not going to be a Packer. It's just not happening.
It's not looking good.
No. If there's a Vegas bet for that, which I'm sure there is.
There's got to be.
I would just say, if whatever the odds are of him not being a Packer, I would take that bet. If there's just like a line that says, okay, not going to be a Packer, that's the one I would bet on. Because I don't see it. I don't see it. Whereas Deshaun Watson will be a Texan, but he probably won't be playing.
Right.
So
he might be in jail. So
might be.
He's going the Michael Vick route. Anyway, let's get into we'll stop with the Yankees for now. And we'll get into our next topic. You want to dive into a little bit of the NBA playoffs?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right. We don't have a clip or anything for the NBA yet, but we got a little bit of a little clip of this, and that's it.
That was it. You just got it.
Because we can't go too deep in that. We don't want to get copywritten or anything like that. But I will, I'll throw some music on in the background.
There's a couple things let's talk about in the NBA.
Yeah.
First and foremost, let's talk about what happened in Boston last night, where unfortunately the story of the game was not the Nets 141 to 126 win over the Celtics to put them in command and give them a 3-1 lead. By the way, the Brooklyn Nets should win the NBA championship. Their biggest enemy will be themselves. Can they get past themselves? Because otherwise, there's not really a team that should be able to beat them. I'm sorry. When you have that kind of star power and depth, you should not be beaten. The only thing that should beat you is yourself, bad chemistry, not being in sync.
Oh, those Sixers might get in the way.
Together. I hope they do, because I would love to see the Sixers win a championship this year, because my brother could really use that. But honestly, the Nets are going to be their own worst enemy. You cannot have that kind of star power with guys in their prime and not win. But let's talk about what the story was, unfortunately, last night, which is that some asshole Celtic fan threw a water bottle on Kyrie Irving as Kyrie Irving was exiting the building after their 15-point win.
Thought he was cool. I thought it was hot. Trying to cool him off.
Yes. He needed to be hydrated, right? He looked really sweaty.
He's always cramping up.
And of course, and Kyrie had some words after it. He brought up racism, and listen, I can't.
Oh, it's systemic there. It's brutal.
It is.
Yeah.
We know Boston is. It's bad. It's not a great city with a good history of, race relations.
Yeah.
It's pretty one-sided to the wrong side.
Yeah.
And if you saw this guy, and I hate to say it too, like when I first saw it, not even listening to Kyrie's post game or his comments, the first thing I saw was white guy throws water bottle at black guy, and I was like, racist.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that popped into my head. And that's a byproduct of
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's race as much as it is hatred towards Kyrie.
Could be. Which is a weird thing. Like, I get that Kyrie is a quirky guy. Yeah. He is. He's an enigma wrapped in a riddle for sure.
Yeah, but he didn't have a lot of nice things to say about Boston.
But he is also a philanthropic, great guy. He's a philanthropic man. He's one of those quiet do-gooder guys that you only hear about, not directly from him, but from others about good deeds. And listen, I don't love him because he's a little too quirky for me. He's kind of a little bit Trevor Bauer-ish for me. But I also recognize he's an incredible player and he's a decent human being.
He's a good player.
And listen, like you said, Boston fans doing asshole things is pretty much par for the course. And I don't want to paint Boston with that broad of a brush. It's still a great city.
Oh yeah.
But they do, let's be honest, their sports fans do have, and just the city in general has a history of racism that goes back very, very far. And that is unfortunate. And it's unfortunate that that's the story after last night, because the story should be about how dominant the Nets are.
Yes.
And how, again, they're going to be the biggest stumbling block to an NBA championship this year. Not possibly the Lakers, not even necessarily the Sixers or the Bucks themselves.
Yeah, the Lakers got some work to do against the Suns, so.
They do, and honestly, you know what though? I still think the fucking Lakers are coming out of the West. I still do.
I do too.
Because they still got that guy. They still got the one guy. Well, they still got those two guys.
I mean, I don't know how Anthony Davis is doing, but after his looked like groin injury, maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. I've watched a little bit of them, but in the games where I've watched, I think he's actually played pretty well.
He has played well, but he hurt him. He hurt his groin yesterday in the game.
Well, we'll
so
see.
I don't know how that's gonna fare. I don't know if he's going to be fine, because he's been having some leg issues anyway. So
the Lakers are not in that Nets category though, where like their own worst enemy is themselves. No, the Lakers will have to work hard to win, because they're not the team that they were a year ago. They're a little bit older, and the rest of the league, especially their opponents in front of them, are a little bit better. Yeah. Phoenix is on paper really ultimately a better team. The question is,
I love Chris Paul.
The question, well, they're a deeper team. How about that?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're better, but they're a more well-rounded
Chris Paul makes every team better.
He does. He probably should win MVP.
He's the most underrated leader in the NBA.
He is a good player. I would love to see him get a championship.
Like the Rockets were going to win against the Warriors. They were going to beat the Warriors. That super team.
And then
Warriors.
He went down. Yeah.
And then he got hurt, and then they just collapsed.
They collapsed. Yeah. Yes, you're right. You're right.
Because if he didn't get hurt, he was single-handedly leading that team to victory.
Yeah.
With his defense and his just incredible. He is such a talented point guard, like a true point guard, but also has a clutch gene.
Let me just give you a quick recap too of where we are in the NBA right now. So right now, so in that series, 2-2 Lakers Suns. I can see that series going 7.
Yeah.
Nets Celtics, Brooklyn's up 3-1. That series should be over by the
over.
next game. Clippers Mavs are tied at 2. Some blowout wins in there, so it's really hard to tell where that series is going. Knicks Hawks, which I thought was actually going to be a more intriguing series, has the Hawks up 3-1 right now, and the Knicks, as much as
the Knicks celebrated their one win in the playoffs, the first one in a long time. They were like celebrating they won it all.
They did. And they had a first 2 really special games there in the Garden. Yeah. Those games were great. I watched both of those games. Those were fun to watch. They should have won the first game, but they blew it. And, and now, Trae Young and Bogdanovich are doing their thing. And the Hawks are a solid they got a nice foundation. They're probably going to put that series away. Sixers Wizards. I mean, the Sixers are in the most lopsided series that we have so far. The Sixers, as they should be doing, are just destroying
another guy.
Under 500.
A bunch of stuff dumped on him. He got Russell Westbrook, who got
popcorn. Yeah, yep.
He's an idiot, though. He's an idiot.
Yeah, I don't like him. And popcorn. I don't know. That seems a little more funny to me than having a water bottle thrown.
A water bottle hurts.
Yeah,
popcorn just like sprinkles on you.
Yeah,
unless he has like a really bad dairy allergy.
Yeah. So you've got the Sixers up 3-0 in that series. Jazz Grizzlies. The Jazz, who are a very good team, are up 2-1. They will. The Grizzlies will challenge them in that series and make it a little more like hard fought than you would think it should be.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the Jazz are going to emerge victorious there. And then last but not least, I think you have Blazers Nuggets. And that series is also tied at 2. I would lean Nuggets in that one, but that's close, man. Rip City that's tough. It's a good series. So there's a couple of good series here. Some of these I think you can see where they're going. But very interesting. I mean, yes, I am rooting very, very hard for the Sixers. Only primarily because I want my brother to experience a Sixers championship again, because it's been a very long time since he's been able to. He was very young the last time they did. So very young, And for me, for basketball, it's been nothing but greatness, for 5 championships and
Spurs.
yeah, and just a 20-year run that rivals the Patriots.
That was classic that you wore those socks that I got you though.
I did.
Golf. Nice.
I love them. They're very nice.
Yeah.
You know what? They're actually very nice and tight. A lot of like really good compression.
Ooh,
actually,
good.
Yeah, they're nice. I like them. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That's a nice little find. I got to get you a little something. Marshall's is the place to go to find shit like that too.
That was TJ Maxx. That was
TJ Maxx. All right, or TJ Maxx and Marshalls are like
same
thing. Same.
Yeah,
you're right.
Same thing. TJ Maxx.
Same building, different.
I happen to be like in like an area where like there was like I was looking for socks or something like that, and I was like, oh, they have San Antonio Spurs socks.
I know. Like,
I gotta
what
get
is he doing in Connecticut? It's so bizarre. only in Connecticut though, right?
And TJ Maxx. That's where you find it.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, LeBron's looking like he's moving a little bit better. He's been, his leg injuries seem to be a little bit behind him. He doesn't still look 100%, but you're going to need to have him really amp up his game to take it all. But I am not with you. I think the Nets are going to be their own worst enemy. I think they are going to get in their own way. I do not see it happening for them this year.
Well, then you are with me because that's
but I know that I guess I'm more on the same page then. Cause like,
I don't know that I have a feel for who I think is going to win it all. I really don't. I would love to say the Sixers. I just don't trust them.
Yeah.
Because of their past playoff performances. I don't trust them. Although Embiid is really having a special year. Mm-hmm. But I don't. I just don't trust them in a big spot. Like they're gonna have to do it. They're gonna have to win it, and then I'll have the belief.
Word.
But until that moment where I actually see them hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy, I'm not gonna believe that they can do it. And I'm sure my brother probably feels the same way.
Trust the process.
You need that. Yes, trust the process. You need that burden of proof, though. You need to see it actually happen.
Word. All right. So that's pretty much. We'll end our.
Is it Rushmore time?
We can do that. We can do Friends Reunion.
Oh, so real quick, Friends Reunion. I watched that. Did you watch it?
I did.
You did?
Me and the wife watched it.
All right. What did you think of it? Like on a scale, if you wanted to give it like a Cinebros rating on a scale of 1 to 10, what'd you think?
7.5.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. 7.5, exactly.
Yeah, because there's things in there that I genuinely missed. Like I thought it was good. Seemed a little directed. Like especially at the beginning. Like the direction was like you could tell it was planned the way that they were doing things.
There is a question I want to ask you coming out of it though. And this shocks me. But I want to ask it of you too. So of these 6 characters coming out of this show. I'll be interested.
I think I know what you're going to ask me.
Who were you? Who did you like? I'm trying to figure out how to properly phrase this question. Like, who did you end up liking even more? Really, like as a person, as opposed to just the character. Like, actually remove the individual from the character. Who did you come out like having this surprising love for after seeing that reunion special than you did and maybe even a little bit more appreciation for than you did during the show?
I wouldn't say there's a ton either way. I think this whole show, this whole reunion, I think was mostly focused. Like you had Matt LeBlanc in there throwing out funny quips here and there. And, and most of them have gotten plastic surgery done. Like I would say, 2 of the 3 female characters have gotten.
Courtney Cox has been completely remolded.
Yeah, and Jennifer Aniston has.
And Jennifer too.
Yeah, they've both gotten some work done. And it looks like Lisa Kudrow.
I don't think Lisa Kudrow
has gotten anything.
No,
and I thought she looked the best out of all of them.
I do too, actually. Yeah. I mean, Aniston's still hot, but
but
Kudrow looked. I know what you mean. Like relatively speaking, looked the best of the 3 because she's aging
just let
with
herself
grace and dignity.
age. Yeah.
But she looked good though. Still.
Yes.
I
would say it's probably either like if I was going to look at what other people are saying, like probably like Phoebe, or Lisa Kudrow, or maybe David Schwimmer.
For me, it's Matt LeBlanc. For me, listen, I always loved him during the show because I thought his character was goofy, hilarious. And,
I never really loved his character.
He was kind of the dumb one of the show, but I loved him in this special. Like, he was so nostalgic and very, you could tell he really loved doing this.
Well,
I think they all did.
He still tries to do a lot of TV. Yeah.
I think they all loved it, but I have such a higher opinion of him after watching this. He seemed to be like the genuine good guy of the bunch. And maybe it's just his personality, because he seems to be sort of a happy-go-lucky kind of person.
Yeah.
But I walked away from this show with a little bit like a higher level of gratitude and appreciation for him.
Yeah.
Schwimmer, yeah, I mean, Schwimmer's very articulate.
Yeah.
And whatever.
Yeah.
I never loved Ross. I always kind of thought of him as sort of
I feel like
his whiny of the bunch.
Right, but his character is so. A lot of people dislike Ross, but the problem is, if you look back, and you go back and start quoting the show, a majority of those quotes are coming from Ross's character.
Oh, without a doubt,
and they're hilarious.
Oh, they are. One of my favorite. Well,
my sandwich, and then you have we were on a break, and then
we were on a break,
and pivot.
I even love the
pivot.
When Aniston, when Rachel says to him, "I'm over you," and he's like, "Over me? When were you ever under me?" Yeah. Like, that's a great quote. I'm sorry, that is a great quote.
The holiday armadillo. I mean, come on.
Oh, yes.
The tan, the two-tan, the teeth, the whitening.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, the leather pants.
These are totally classic characters. They're all classic characters in their own sense, I was always a Chandler guy. I just loved him.
I did too. He was just a constant, joke machine.
Right. Just one after another. And because he had so many, they almost get lost in and of themselves because he had so many.
Yeah.
Could I? But it did bring
wearing any more clothes?
It did bring me back though to just how special a show it was and how much of that timeline that it kind of filled in your life for 10 years, know?
One thing I was surprised about and I didn't know is that, Ross and Rachel, David Schwimmer and Jennifer Aniston
that was
actually
potentially
going to happen. Like they kind of wanted it to happen.
Matt LeBlanc was like, bullshit.
Yeah.
And then he was like, no, I'm just kidding. But that was funny though. It was a good line. Yeah. Funny line. But yeah, no, that was a revelation. I'm not surprised by it, right? I mean, I guess, you hear about that stuff all the time, right?
Yeah.
People falling in love on set. You spend that much time with each other.
Sure.
In some ways, if there's a physical attraction, it's almost bound to happen. But that was obviously the big revelation of the show. But it was good. It was yes, to your point. I agree. It was 7.5. It was not like overwhelmingly great, but I
kept
enjoyed
me hooked.
It. It brought me back.
I was sad to not see like Hank Azaria's character or like or Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not have him there?
Yeah, like why was Paul Rudd not there?
How was he not there? Like he must have been busy or something.
He must have been busy. Yeah.
Doing something for Disney.
because you would think he would totally be on that.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Hannigan was there for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. I mean, they ended wasn't he part of the end?
Yeah.
He was on the last episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was weird. It was weird not having him there.
He was towards the end.
Yep.
For sure.
But overall, good show. Really liked it. I don't know that it needed James Corden, but whatever.
No,
I mean, he
can't stand that guy.
He kept it together, I guess, but whatever. I honestly, I loved them all sitting on the set together and on the old set and really like reveling in the set, like that was cool.
So obviously anybody that's watched Friends has known the set tended to be a little chilly for Jennifer Aniston. Did you notice, Christine noticed right away when they were doing their table read?
Yes, I did.
I said to her, do you think that she did that on purpose? Like she like purposely got them
got some ice cubes
or just like just did something to get them like out. And I was like, that had to happen. She had to be like, I have to do this as a tribute to the fans.
It was tremendous. I noticed. Of course I noticed. Oh my God. I'm a boob man. Of course I noticed that.
That's hilarious. So I thought that was very funny.
I just remember thinking to myself watching it like, oh, there they are.
Yeah.
They made an appearance. I mean, they were like their own characters.
That was the
too.
seventh Friends character, right?
It was
The seventh and eighth.
or the eighth, right? Yeah, seventh and eighth. It was good. It was a fun show. It was fun. My wife watched it too. She enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was just a nice little nostalgic kind of, brought you back.
For sure.
And closing the chapter on the show in general.
I did like how they even brought it up like, hey, why are you thinking about doing a movie or something along those lines? And
they're like,
and they were like, they were like, no. And they were like, why? And they was like, well, because the creators said they wrapped it up in a nice little bow and they were very happy the way it ended. I'm like,
well, you know what though? It was a show that ended well. Like if you think back on it, so many of these shows, like Seinfeld, there are a lot of people who do not like the way Seinfeld ended.
No, Sopranos,
Sopranos,
hate that. Yeah.
I mean, even if you want to go like, I didn't watch Game of Thrones, and that's a completely different show too.
Yeah.
But so Sopranos are very good.
Yeah.
But a lot of people did not like.
But they're long-running shows.
Some of these shows don't end well, and yet I only have a very positive memory of Friends. I don't ever think about, the show didn't end well. I think it did.
It was just my why does it have to end?
Right. Why does it have to end? But if it
why don't the friends just all move to the suburbs now?
The other show I think that ended well was Big Bang Theory. That show ended on a nice note.
I don't remember the ending.
It was a good note. The one show that ended terribly and it mars its memory is How I Met Your Mother.
Oh yeah. I never have watched the show. I started watching it, but never got into it.
You want to know what? My favorite analogy. How I Met Your Mother is the law-abiding citizens, style-like citizen of TV shows. It is terrible ending. Great show. Bad ending. Ooh, brutal.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
All right. So let's switch it up.
Are we spinning the wheel?
Well, no. We got to do our Mount Rushmore.
Oh, our Mount Rushmore. Sorry, yeah.
Jeez, man.
Oh, this was a Mount Rushmore of sports villains, correct?
Yes, and here.
Yeah, I didn't have to do much for this.
Here we go. All right. Mount Rushmore of bad, evil or hated athletes. It was actually harder for me than I thought it was going to be. Because there's people that I hate, athletes that I hate, but not because I hate that. I hate the person. It's like I hate what happened because of the person. Or there's issues with there's one thing that changed my viewpoint on this athlete. And so it was actually very tough for me to kind of wrap this up and make it like a tight little Mount Rushmore. I was having a difficult time, difficult time. And the guy who I was going to have, Abraham Lincoln, I ended up changing and making him a more prominent role. Just because the more I thought about it, the more angry I got. Yeah. And one of the people I thought was going to be on it didn't get on it, which I was also pretty shocked about. So that is we'll just call it there. And I'm surprised I didn't have any general managers or anything like that on there at all.
Okay.
I was surprised. I have one guy on there. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but I dislike him so much because of what he did.
Okay.
And it's not even his fault. But it's just what he stands for.
Okay.
in my head. And that's it.
Okay.
And what happened because of him?
I only have I have an honorable mention.
I have a couple honorable mentions.
And
I think that you're going to be, you might not be shocked. I know I've talked about how I dislike.
We should, we got to figure out a way. We got to figure out a president to align with our honorable mentions. Could it be like a JFK or a Ronald Reagan or something? I don't know. We got to figure out an icon for the honorable mention. Like who's the guy who didn't quite make Mount Rushmore?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one. Donald Trump keeps saying that he should be on there.
Oh, for Christ's sake. Please, let's not bring his name up today of all days, huh?
Seriously. Oh yeah, my bad. We'll erase that back.
Yes.
Cut that out.
Cut that out.
All right. So we'll start off with our Abraham Lincoln as usual.
Sure.
And why don't you start off? Why don't you start off with who your Abraham Lincoln is for
the 2017 Houston Astros?
The whole team.
The whole fucking team. Yeah, the whole team.
Wow.
The whole team. I mean, if you want to put a face on it, I guess it's Altuve. But ultimately, it's that whole team. It's that 2017 Astros team because it didn't just have repercussions in one year where they did actually win a World Series, but it had repercussions in years after where this shit was still going on for at least 2 more years after it. So it's the team as a whole. It started in 2017, we think, but it really went on for a few years in total. They bounced the Yankees in the playoffs a couple times, and they may or may not have been utilizing this same, garbage pail banging, technique that they were using to win games and to cheat their way into a championship and into long postseason runs in following years. But it's not just the cheating. The cheating part of it you can almost kind of deal with because cheating has been going on in sports for centuries. It's not that. It's the brazen, brash, abrasive nature of which they have not only did it, but then defended it. And their fan base is just putrid. Understandable in the sense that prior to 2017, the Houston Astros had won exactly dick. So it's pretty easy to understand why their fans defend it so harshly and just brush it off. Because without that championship, they have nothing. They have nothing. They've got Nolan Ryan, and that's about it. It's not a franchise prior to 2017 with any winning established history. This isn't the Yankees with 27 championships, or the Red Sox with 11 or whatever. It's the Cardinals or the Dodgers with all their championships. It's nothing. It's nothing. There's not the legacy prior to that is, okay, well, we've had some great players here and there, but we've never won anything. So I can understand from a fan perspective why. But what's disturbing is the players not being contrite. There was zero contrition from players. Justin Verlander was kind of the face of that. Altuve and Carlos Correa are very much there. I have changed my opinion about a lot of guys that I used to love from that team, specifically George Springer. I will never look at that guy the same. Never. He was part of it. He was part of a culture. And that's why I have to put the team on the list because it can't just be an individual player. The whole team participated in this. By the way, that is a precursor of other things to come too. So I can't put just a team. I can't put just one guy because basically everybody who hit in that lineup is an accessory. Okay. The team committed murder and the sum of the parts is an accessory to it. Okay. They're all an accessory, whether it's Altuve, whether it's Correa, whether it's Springer, whether any of them, Bregman. Oh God, that little prick. I mean, all of them. They're all an accessory to that scandal, and it's an ugly scandal, man. And I will tell you that they got off very, very, very easily in this whole thing. AJ Hinch is back in baseball. Cora's back managing the Red Sox. I mean, he got 1 year. He got like a 1 year breather, and then he's the Red Sox coach again. That's another discussion for another day, whether or not you think Boston should have done that. I don't, but whatever. That was their call. And listen, I'm not saying that the guys, they served their sentence, but I think, so in that sense, okay, they served their sentence, they're back in the game, that's fine. I don't want to be old man yelling at a cloud here, but the truth is that the sentence should have been harsher. And I think you would probably agree with that. I think the sentence should have been harsher for what they did, which was a very elaborate, albeit basic scheme. I mean, banging, really, like, I mean, it was like a half and half, right? It was like a half old school technique and it was a half like new age, right? I mean, you use technology in terms of like laptops and cameras, but then you were literally banging a drum. You're banging a garbage can to relay the signal to the player. But then there may have also been microphones and like there's just a lot of stuff we don't know about.
Yeah.
I think that we will probably never know about. I mean, to me, there should be like a commission on this. But if we can't get a January 6th insurrection commission, then I don't think we're going to get a commission on the Astros cheating. But the Astros are definitely on the list for me. They're my Abraham Lincoln of sports villains. The 2017 Houston Astros.
Wow. All right.
And if you want to say 2017 through 2019, you may. It's fine. Perfectly acceptable.
Pretty much same team. So
yes.
All right. For me, my Abraham Lincoln is a guy who I really just can't stand, and I talk about it all the time, and he actually played for my team. And that is...
Oh, gotta be A-Rod.
Nope. Russell Westbrook.
Okay.
I cannot stand him. I can't stand his attitude. I can't stand the way he plays basketball. I can't stand everything in general. His cockiness, everything about what he stands for in sports is absolutely aggravating to me to no end. I think he's a very talented player. Unfortunately, I find him incredibly annoying. I find him incredibly toxic to his team. And
that's a good word. That's a good word for him. Toxic.
And I just can't stand him. So therefore, I know a lot of people love him. I am not one. And Russell Westbrook is the Abraham Lincoln for me. And I never think that I don't think he's ever going to win a championship because of the toxic nature that follows him around.
I would agree with that.
All right.
It's a good poll.
Thank you. Let's get into our Theo. Let's play a little music in the background too for this. We gotta get a little there we go. Yeah.
Good. It's a good beat.
All right. Theo. Who you got for Theo?
Big phony himself, David Ortiz. There was zero way. There's that cutie again. There is no way I could not put this guy on my list. Now, it's not just David Ortiz is not just the villain for me in the sense of the PED scandal. And I know that there are arguments as to whether or not you actually think David Ortiz took PEDs. I am obviously firmly in the camp that he did. It's not just the drug part of it. That's only part of the story with David Ortiz. The cheating part of it. The other side of it is just, of course, the fact that for me, he's a personal villain because he wreaked so much havoc on the Yankees. He's the reason why 2004 happened, basically. The guy who took Mariano Rivera deep, a couple times and really changed the course of the Red Sox history and turned them from, clown show losers into perennial winners. He started a lot of the if you want to call it the earth kind of turning on its axis here for Yankee fans, because there was a century of the Yankees just owning Boston. And then it turned on a dime in 2004. And so David Ortiz represents a lot of bad memories and a lot of negative energy for me. And so he is my, this is Theodore, right?
Yeah.
Theodore Roosevelt. Yeah. He's my Theo Roosevelt, partially cheating, partially just because he wreaked so much fucking havoc on the Yankees.
All right. Okay. So my Theo is a guy who I just have a bad taste in my mouth because of what he did to my Buffalo Bills. This is a guy who there was a guy who came back from the depths and was looking so good and brought this team back to the playoffs. But there was this young stud that was supposed to come in and be better and do better. And they just decided, oh, you made the playoffs? Let's throw you in there. That is Jonathan Paul Lossman. JP Lossman.
Oh, God, JP Lossman.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't stand that guy because he
I guess not.
took Doug Flutie out of the starting lineup. Not because he was better, the team thought he was better.
Because he was younger.
They thought he was younger, and he was gonna give them a better chance to win. And he was going to give them a better chance to win, and he was the future.
JP Losman.
And this is after Doug Flutie plays the whole season and gets them to the playoffs. But this guy is going to give you a better chance to win. Oh my God. I never disliked a quarterback so much for no reason other than the fact that my team thought that he was the better option. And I was in love with Doug Flutie at that time. Everybody, the whole NFL league, the whole league was in love with Flutie at that time because he came back and he was doing his Flutie magic.
Yeah.
He came back and he did something that they didn't think that he could do. He left the Canadian Football League where he was a super stud and came and played in the NFL. Proved that he could play in the NFL.
Yep.
And then they got to the playoffs and they took him out of the lineup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So mad. And that's why I can't stand Jonathan Paul Losman.
That's your Buffalo Bills. You fucked up. You trusted us.
Yes, exactly. Well, I got a couple clips here. I don't know what they are because it doesn't say.
I would not have thought JP Losman would have made these lists. Right. If I had to put money on it, I would not have bet on that. But that's good. This is a revelation. I did not know this about you today. So.
Yeah. So
this is one of those you learn something new every day kind of moments for me.
Yep. Hold on one second. Now let me see. I got a couple of clips here, and I want to see what they are.
Obviously, the group you started.
Nope.
Obviously, the group you started with in the second half.
I don't know who that is, but I put David Ortiz in here, and that came up. So I didn't know if I had a David Ortiz clip from you. So I was just going to see if I had it, but didn't seem to have anything.
Right. I don't want to revisit too much more of this anyway. So,
all right, let's get to TJ, Tommy J.
So here's another baseball player. And this is just, this won't shock you. I don't think any of my list will shock you at all. You pretty much know the guys I hate. Jose Bautista. He's just been a villain for me from the beginning. I've just never liked him. He's just, sometimes you just hate people.
Yeah.
And there's almost no rhyme or reason for it. You
Jose
just
Bautista's
don't
yours?
like people. And Jose Bautista is that guy for me. Because
does he still follow you?
He didn't follow me. He responded once to me.
No, he was following you.
Oh, I don't. Does he? Follow
I don't know. He used to.
Hold on, I need to check that because that actually really would be absolutely hilarious.
He was at one point.
He did. Hold on. Let me see. Jose.
But he followed 9 billion people.
Bautista. I don't even see him on.
Maybe you left Twitter.
Maybe he did
because he's no longer.
He might. He might have followed me at one point.
He did.
Okay.
I'm 99% sure.
Okay. I mean, I know he responded to me on Twitter, but yes, maybe he did, which is really the ultimate irony, right? Yeah, he's just one of those guys, and I've had guys, celebrities, and athletes where I've initially disliked them, but then grown to love them. Two that come to mind are MJ, Michael Jordan, and Leonardo DiCaprio, were guys that I, for whatever reason, just initially hated in their professions and then grew to love for different reasons.
Yeah.
I've never come off of disliking Jose Bautista.
I'm the same way with MJ.
Yeah, I have never, ever.
I am slightly like that with Tiger too. Slightly. I don't have the admiration that I did for Michael Jordan as his second time with the Bulls.
Yeah. I
really was like, wow, this guy's he's next level.
For Bautista, what it mostly comes down to for me is just the arrogance, the way he played the game.
Yeah.
I'm more of an old school guy. I'm more Thurman Munson than I am, the modern day kind of player, a little more reserved and ultra competitive. And, I'm not one of those guys who likes, if a guy, say like a Xander Bogaerts or a Rafael Devers or, a JD Martinez draws a walk or gets a hit, goes to first base and starts chit-chatting with Luke Voigt. I don't like that shit.
Yeah.
I don't. I think those guys should want to fucking kill each other. That's just the way I approach sports. I know it's old school. I know it's old man yelling at cloud. I don't care. That's just the way I've always sort of, even when I played, and I never played any level of significant competition, but even just playing in Little League and Babe Ruth and, even just I don't really want to count intramural college baseball as anything, but at any level, I don't remember going to first base and then talking it up with a first base.
I hate you.
I didn't do that either. I just didn't feel the need to talk to them because I was just like, I'm the guy you're the guy I'm trying to beat.
Right.
And, I know it's different now. These guys are all millionaires. That level of competition isn't what it was, because you have to remember the thing about the 50s and the 60s and even to some extent the 70s. Those guys really didn't like each other because you were fighting for food on the table. A lot of those guys, especially in the 50s and 60s, man, when they left that, they had an actual job to go to also, or they were fighting in wars.
Right.
Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams. I mean, honestly, yes, they will be known for being some of the greatest baseball players ever. They should be known for being American heroes. That's what they should actually be known for, especially on a day like today when we have this sort of remembrance.
Yeah.
So it was a different time. And I understand all that, but Jose Bautista just represents to me maybe like one of like the pioneers of this arrogant era of players. And I'm more understanding and tolerant of it now. And I get it. I get that's sort of the way that the game is going.
Yeah.
I will tell you that the other day when Fernando Tatis hit a 3-run homer, I think in the 9th inning off of the Astros to put the Padres in the lead, and he lollygagged the shit out of that. He enjoyed every second of it. And I enjoyed it too, because it was the Astros that he was doing it to.
Right.
And I think the Astros deserve every negative thing that comes their way from now until fucking eternity. I don't care. They made that bed. They need to sleep in it for as long as fans want to continue to dish it out to them. And do I think it was classy that 10 to 15,000 Yankee fans chanted "fuck Altuve" for like an entire series and have actually been doing it in series where the Astros aren't even there in the Bronx? Do I think that's great? Yeah, I really do. But yeah, Jose Bautista he's just a guy that always rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know what it was. He was a really good player, a really good player.
For a while, yeah.
He had some good years. And he did torture the Yankees in some of those years. That's probably also part of the villain, end of it too. So yeah, he's on that. He's on that list. He made the Final Four. He's just a guy that he's one of those guys that a villain in every sense. I hated him. I didn't respect him, and I still can't stand him. At least I have a modicum of respect for David Ortiz. Very small amount, but more than I had for Batista.
Okay.
But I still hate Ortiz more just because of the torture of 2004. Really.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. My Thomas Jefferson is a man who I have had a couple of rants from time to time over the course of this podcast, this show. I couldn't find any on my laptop. I'm sure I have some on my desktop here, but it's a guy who has continuously shot himself in the foot. And it's a guy that you like, and I think want in the Hall of Fame, and that is Pete Rose.
Okay.
Like
him, no. Want him in the Hall of Fame, yes.
I think that he
Can't
is.
I think he's a hard guy to like.
He is an absolute travesty. He is horrible for baseball. He's a horrible human. And
I don't disagree with any of what you're saying so far.
And he is extremely unlikable.
Also true.
I really, really dislike this guy. When Fox brought him on to have him, be there as a color commentator, kind of in the background, like when they did in between.
Bad idea.
He started off pretty good, but quickly went downhill
deteriorated.
and got fired.
Yes, he did.
Because of the stuff that he said. And he is just an absolute moron and can't figure out a way to get out of his own way. I can't stand the guy. I hope that he is abolished from baseball forever. And yeah, I mean, people might say that about Barry Bonds and Jose Canseco and all that kind of stuff. Like the things that they did, Rafael Palmeiro, Mark McGwire, all these people. I think Mark McGwire's kind of turned himself around and made himself kind of a good guy and given back to the game. So like, I think that you could probably, but like, whereas Pete Rose, who all he had to do was apologize.
Yes, he couldn't do it.
Look the guy in the eye and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I will never do it again.
Yep. He couldn't do it.
And he would have been in the Hall of Fame.
Pride. Yep.
And then you would be able to go to card shows and all that kind of stuff. And and he'd be a much more respect. But instead, he did that, which led to further drinking, which led to further drug problems probably. And he continues with his gambling issues as well, and never ever gets help for it. And it's like, I know addiction is a big time problem. But the problem is that I have with Pete Rose is that he's been given chance after chance after chance and seems to like to put himself under the 8 ball here, literally and figuratively. And I don't want him to be on TV. I don't want baseball. Like I said, I have said many, many times in the past, I would love for the Baseball Hall of Fame to have a wing that is dedicated to the scumbags. And that is someone like Pete Rose and have his hits. He's not
Bonds,
in here because this. And this is why nobody is honoring him. The
controversial wing of the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. Yeah, Barry Bonds. He's not in the Hall of Fame. He was an extremely talented athlete because this. A Mark McGwire, a Jose Canseco, all these people. And you could actually make a case for Jose Canseco to be in the Hall of Fame because of the light that he shined on all of the steroid issue. And you could make a case because he broke down that wall. Whether he's a snitch or not, you could say he was the reporter that broke it down because none of the reporters were doing it.
I don't mind the snitch part, but he was also part of the culture.
Well, yeah, but he still had to do it. He had to throw himself under the bus, like
Mike Fiers is the guy that got the whole Astros thing going. He was the guy that broke down that wall. And some people look at him as a snitch and some people like me think of him as a fucking hero. Right. I don't know about a hero, but a guy who did the right thing.
Right. And that's the thing you could make more of a case for someone like Canseco than I think you can someone like Clemens or, and these guys that ruined their careers because
Here's the other thing, though, to remember. The other thing, though, you have to think about is why did Canseco do it? Did he do it because he had this overwhelming guilt? No, he did it to sell a book. Yeah.
Well, but he still did it when nobody else was.
It just was, he did it for his own personal gain.
Right.
There wasn't, like,
I'm not saying it's not.
Like, Mike Fiers had nothing to gain from that. He wasn't writing a book. He wasn't, he was part of something that he didn't like being part of. Right. And he was like, I can't live with this shit.
But he was out of baseball. He was blackballed from baseball. So this is the only way to make money anymore.
Whatever. I mean, yeah. Well, you talk about Canseco?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was the only way for him to make money because he was blackballed at that point.
Yeah.
So
he was still a dickhead.
Oh, he is. He's absolutely.
He's a dick.
He is. I agree.
I've never liked him. I don't know. Listen, I don't like Pete Rose. I wanted Ichiro.
I wanted Ichiro to break his record so bad.
He's a poster child for tragedy. That's what he is. Yeah. He's a poster child for a comedy of errors, quite frankly, because he's just brought it all on himself time after time. And to your point, and that's why
I am all for second chances. And at times even third chances. But
for me, when it comes to Pete Rose,
he's been given like 40.
I do put some pun intended rose-colored goggles on here with him because I see the way he played the game, and I try to remember that part. But that's you're looking at it in a vacuum, which you can't do because you have to take in the whole picture. You have to see the forest for the trees with a guy like Pete Rose, and the forest is really fucking big and a real big mess.
I mean, you could say that about Ty Cobb too. Like, he was a great guy, but super racist and potentially killed a man.
Yeah, I mean, Ty Cobb is there's no rose-colored glasses for him.
But he was the way he played the game. Like,
yes, I understand he was a great hitter, but the racism part, I mean, sorry, no, there's nothing Pete Rose did that can equal. You can't. It's hard to match.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Pete Rose has kind of let a few things slip, and it seems like he might be a little racist.
All right. I don't know. Maybe you're right. I haven't delved that much into the Pete Rose character and the psyche and his background, but that could be very true.
Yeah.
I don't know about his feelings on that kind of thing. I mean, you know what you know about Ty Cobb. Yeah, no, he's not a lovable guy. He's not easily defensible. I mean, I have an autographed baseball from him, and the only reason I bought it is because he inscribed on it, "I'm sorry I bet on baseball." Pete Rose.
Yeah.
I actually bought it more as like a commemorative comic piece of memorabilia.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, I thought it was funny when I walked down there. When I walked down the base and I saw it, I was like, "That's hilarious."
You saw it, right? Like, "I'm sorry I bet on baseball." It's pretty funny.
That's hilarious.
Like, that's why I bought it. I was like, wow, this is like a.
But he's not. The thing that's crazy is he's sorry. He's not sorry. Like, that's really what it comes down.
No, I know it.
Because he did that to make money.
He's sorry, as my wife would always say. He's sorry he got caught. Yeah. That's what he's sorry about.
That's a lot of these steroids.
He's sorry he got nailed. He's not sorry.
All right, so let's get to the George Washington. Who's your G-dubs?
Oh, please, come on. And I set the stage for this before when we talked
about starts
Lincoln.
With a little bit of like,
if Patriots fans were pizzas, they'd be cocksucker supremes.
But it ultimately ends with this guy.
Anytime Tom Brady walks on a field, you are well within your right to throw a big floppy on that field.
Do you remember that?
Well, yes, I do. That's actually my favorite one. More so than the pizza one. They're close. They're close.
Yeah.
They would be like my would be like my Washington and Lincoln of drops.
Yeah.
But bookended, right? But this may surprise you though.
Bill Belichick is going to be Belichick.
Similar to the Astros. I'm going with the team. I'm going with the franchise. Because
so it is
if Patriots fans were pizzas,
so it'd be the whole Patriots.
Supremes.
The whole Patriots.
Yes, it is. It is the just the New England Patriots organization and in general.
Yeah.
They are everything that is wrong with professional sports. And they have stood the test of time with that moniker and that label and that identifier for 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, there's not a lot of people who have my ability and degree of holding on to hate. I can grasp hate for a long time. And not only can I grasp it, but I can it can grow. It gets nurtured on its own.
Uh-huh.
Like, I can fertilize my own hate over time and make it grow bigger and stronger. Not like for most people, time heals wounds.
Yeah.
For me, it opens them more. And I just have this, and maybe it's a character flaw. I just have this innate ability to hold on to anger and hate longer than I think the average person does. To the point where I look at the Patriots now and I hate them even more than at the time this shit was all happening. That at the time that Eric Mangini pulled back the curtain and exposed this Patriots organization for what they were.
Snitch.
And he was a snitch, and he's a kind of a dick too. Like, first of all, he was part of it.
He's a little arrogant.
So, yeah, he was part of it though. He was part of it.
Yeah.
And that's the other reason why to me, it's not just a guy. It's not just Belichick. It's not just Brady. It's a whole team, because the whole team they all knew what was going on. You were part of something. You were part of an entire culture here. And this wasn't unlike the Astros, which maybe had gone on for 3 years. This went on for literally decades. You had so many different Patriot scandals. I mean, it started with Spygate, and it didn't end with Deflategate. There were others in between. You had the whole Tom Brady cell phone thing. I mean, there are so many examples. I mean, just Google Patriots cheating and like the amount of shit and information that you come up with. I mean, there have been and there will be books written on this stuff.
Probably.
They are public enemy number one as far as I'm concerned when it comes to sports villains. And what makes them more villainous than anything is they've won a ton of championships and they've won it with a fan base that could not care less. I have very rarely, if ever, met a Patriot fan who has shown any remorse or contrition over this. All they want to do is throw those 6 championship rings at you and say, fuck you, fuck your hate, fuck your feelings. I've got 6 rings and you're a Dolphins fan and you haven't seen shit. Which, I mean, you know, if you're going to handle it, that's probably the way to go about it, right? And it's made me wonder, like, should I, like, I mean, I know that the Yankees, there were a number of Yankees who were probably on steroids even during those dynasty years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I wonder, should I not have any contrition over that and say that, well, yeah, you know, some of those championships, like a lot of others in baseball, I mean, those Red Sox championships with Ortiz and Ramirez, they have asterisks next to them. And so do some of these Yankees ones. It's just the way it is. There were players on those teams that were juicing. Clemens, my goodness. I mean, my God, he's the face of all of that. That was an A-Rod, you know, both of those guys. And there were lesser guys too, that were also included in that, you know, in some of those Yankee teams, guys like Mike Stanton, the reliever, not Giancarlo Stanton. David Justice was, you know, a guy that was pegged, even though he's vehemently denied it even to the day. But nothing to me stands the test of time like this Patriot team and the things that they did. And the fact that the head of the snake is still there. Bill Belichick is still there, still helming that team. And he is revered in New England. He is a god up here. Mm-hmm. This is a tough place to live and hate the Patriots. What's ironic about that, and I've told you this before, growing up, New Englander my whole life, Connecticut resident my whole life, gone to Connecticut schools. I can tell you that prior to 2001, before the Patriots had done fucking anything, and you know this too, you and I have grown, you know, went to high school in the same time, grew up in the same era. And I love this example because when you went to school and when I went to school, everybody was wearing starter jackets, right? Mm-hmm. Starter jackets were the fucking rage, man. Everyone had them. I'm sure you had a Buffalo Bills one. I had multiple Miami
I did have
Dolphins
a Buffalo Bills one, actually.
And let me tell you, as a young fan, as a young kid,
I actually had, so like I had like the big, huge, puffy one.
Yeah.
I had one. That was the Buffalo Bills one. Yep, that was for the winter time. But like for like the fall and the spring, I actually had a Chicago Bulls and a Boston Celtics one.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So if
like the shiny ones, the shiny.
I had one of those. Sticking to football, I had so many. Sticking to football, strictly football. The most prominent ones that I would always see in school. Again, keep in mind, living here in New England, Bears, Dolphins, Cowboys, 49ers, Packers, a little bit. You know what? Just because there was a fucking Buffalo Bills fan who used to torture me all the time, I saw Bills ones occasionally. Yeah. I never, and I mean fucking never saw a Pat the Patriot New England Patriots starter jacket in my entire fucking life. In fact, I'm not even sure that Starter produced them. I might actually have to see one to believe that they were actually ever on a rack somewhere.
Yeah.
And then these motherfuckers came out of the woodwork when the Patriots started winning Super Bowls. And it started right off the bat. I will never forget this. I know my brother doesn't either. After that first Super Bowl that they won, where the Patriots at, before you found out anything, were actually really a likable team in 2001. Because they were huge underdogs going into that Super Bowl against, you know, the greatest show on turf, the Rams, who were coming off a Super Bowl defense. And the Patriots beat them in what had to be the biggest upset in Super Bowl history since Super Bowl III, since Namath called his shot against the Colts, against Don Shula's Colts. Had to be the biggest upset in Super Bowl history. Had to be by a fucking wide margin. And I remember after that game, and it was very innocent. And I can't find it though. I just remember, but I can't find like the actual clip of it anywhere. I've looked for it on YouTube for years, but I just remember them asking Marshall Faulk after that game. And Marshall Faulk was not accusing anyone of anything, but what he said was, "Hey, it's like they knew." He's like, it was just like they knew what we were gonna do.
Yeah,
like they knew what was coming. He didn't say it in an accusatory manner. He was like, they just read us so
they just
well.
Played a good game,
Here's the deal, Marshall. They fucking did know. They knew every fucking play you were gonna run. That's why they won, and they didn't even win. They had to win on a field goal by Adam Vinatieri. It's not like they even won dominantly.
Right.
They knew every fucking play you were going to run in succession, and they still barely beat you because the talent gap was that big. If I'm Marshall Faulk and Kurt Warner, I would hate those motherfuckers until the day I went in the fucking grave. And not only them, but there are other teams that have every right to feel that way. Every right to feel that way about the New England Patriots. You and I should feel this way as Dolphins and Bills fans because who knows what we have been denied in that division? Who knows? Probably the Bills more so than the Dolphins because the Dolphins, quite frankly, just didn't have competitive enough teams that were, but it is hard to say over the course of 20 years what might have been for other teams in that division who just couldn't have a chance because the Patriots were operating in a certain way for a long time. And I don't want to listen, Tom Brady, his greatness, I don't know. Listen, the fact that he went to Tampa really tells you, though, that a lot of what happened maybe in New England did have something to do with him because he went there and he was the final piece of the puzzle that Tampa thought. And sure enough, they went and won a Super Bowl. Yeah. So, I don't know that exercises any demons for him and from the cheating side of it. He still was part of what he was part of in New England. And for me, it's just always that they are the biggest villains that I will ever see in my lifetime in sports. And it's not even close. It's not even close. The distance between them and the Astros or Ortiz and Bautista is 1.5 miles long. It just couldn't be a greater gap. The fall off between 20 years of tyranny versus anything else that any other team or individual has ever done is astounding. It's just mind-boggling what those guys did for such a long period of time and got away with and were defended. And now it's at the point where they're revered. It's unbelievable to me.
All right. I'm going to get into this a little bit shorter because we've gone on quite a bit. I will my George Washington is probably very easily known.
I would guess A-Rod just because I haven't heard his name yet.
It is A-Rod, 100%. Okay. Cannot stand the guy. After he cheated multiple times, got caught multiple times, had a hand most likely in bringing Cano and Melky Cabrera and all that kind of
dragged them down with him.
All of that stuff. Really just made me despise the guy. And then on top of that, he tries to put himself out there like he's a good human being. And, and he's such like you like to call Big Papi Big Phony. And I think that there is no bigger phony in all of sports than Alex Rodriguez. I think he is the biggest. I think he's a smart baseball player. I think he knows baseball. I think he was a talented athlete.
He was. Didn't need it.
But I think he is a scummy human. And that's what he seems like to me. Hopefully, in the second half of his career, he can come back and redeem himself. But so far, what I've seen, I haven't really loved. So
I'll never warm up to him. If we were to do honorable mentions, and let's just for the sake of it, call it the JFK and the Reagan. Okay. He's one of them. I have Carlos Correa in there. I have Tom Brady. So do I, technically.
Tom Brady is an honorable mention for me. And another one that you are gonna, you might not be shocked because I have gone on off a bit of a tangent on him before, and that is David Wells.
Yeah, I know.
Another guy who has gotten in his own way so many times and
the other
walked
one
off
for
the
me,
mound because he hurt himself.
Yeah,
Because he couldn't keep himself in shape. And
Right.
then,
He's a fat
just
fuck
cancels
that he
on interviews last minute, leaves people high and dry. And
yeah, he's a dick. My other, so if A-Rod is my Ronald Reagan, then my John F. Kennedy is Lance Armstrong.
there's a lot of people that are like that out there.
What bothers me more about Lance than
I'm surprised Rafael Palmeiro didn't end up on anybody's list.
yeah, I mean, well,
yeah,
I mean, yes,
straight to the camera.
Well, he pointed his finger at Congress, which is a really fucking that takes some brass balls.
Seriously.
I mean, you could say whatever you want about Rafael Palmeiro, but that guy's balls are so big that they have to ride shotgun when he's driving because there is no fucking way I would go and point my finger at fucking.
But he's taking
Congress.
steroids, so he can hold them in the cigarette container now.
Yeah, well, that's probably true, right? Ironically, could you imagine lying to Congress?
No,
man, I would struggle with that one.
And that's That's doubling down.
That is right. That's what
and
I'm
then
saying. That's doubling down.
Just a few weeks later, what? I don't know, a month, 2 months. He got tested positive.
Right, exactly. So, but Lance Armstrong, what bothers me a lot about him is he threw a lot of people under the bus in addition to, again, the cheating part of it sometimes I can overlook because a lot of people do it. I mean, there's not enough room on any Mount Rushmores to just throw a bunch of cheaters on there. That there's so many guys in sports who have done that. But I like to me, I have to look at the outside impact and the long-term effect. And here, there are two things about Lance Armstrong's that really bothered me and why he would certainly warrant being on this list and in being on the Mount Rushmore in and of itself, because he dragged other guys with him. He hurt a lot of people's reputations. He tore other people down in the process because he was trying to bring people down with him. Mm-hmm. But that's one thing. The second and the biggest one, though, is the message, the wrong message that he sent. He should have been the ultimate symbol of inspiration. A guy who battled testicular cancer and came back to win 7 Tour de France's. And instead, he did it under the most false of pretenses. His message should have been one of inspiration and motivation and perseverance. Mm-hmm. And instead, he will be remembered as a guy whose all of his accomplishments and all of that inspiration that he provided was all a fallacy. It was just a sham. Mm-hmm. You know, he should have been an inspiration for not only cancer survivors, he should have been an inspiration just for people in general. And it all happened under false pretense. And that to me is the biggest crime of Lance Armstrong.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys that are out there that are kind of fall into that boat, but that is a huge one. So
it's big.
All right, let's get it. We're going to wrap this up and we're going to head on over to our
spin that wheel
of destiny. All right, where's that wheel at? All right, here's the wheel. I don't know why I did that. Let's see if I go back now. No, I didn't. I'm a moron. All right, here we go. You see the light all in it? There we go. That's better. All right, ready?
Yeah. I was born ready for the wheel.
And it is...
I hope it's an OFN.
How is this actually?
Oh, how is this actually?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it? You good?
How is this actually? Okay.
That's next week. How?
And again, so for those of you who don't know, how is this actually? It's the Rotten Tomatoes game where we take a movie.
Yeah.
How is it rated so high? How is this actually an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes when it should be maybe half of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the one where it's easier to do, right? Because the harder one is how is this only, right? Or is how is this actually?
I think
the
how
harder
is
one?
this actually harder?
How is this actually is the harder one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, you're right. Because we did one recently.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because mine was Scream 2.
Right. Yeah.
Mine was like, how is that actually not only what it was, but like higher than Scream 1
Right,
by
right,
1
right,
percentage
right.
point?
Yeah,
Like, give me a fucking break.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
All right.
it is harder. It is.
It is harder.
It
Yes,
is
this
harder.
is the harder one.
And especially not trying to repeat what we've done in the past.
I know. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's tough.
All
But yeah, so that'll be our next week. We do have I did put some things on there we had to put a new recast a movie. I put The Three Amigos on there, which I'm very happy to do. There's a lot of movies that are like that we could do again, like that we could do like recast for. Like in that 80s.
How do you recast those?
I think it's doable. I think it's very.
It's very doable.
Yeah,
I think what concerns me is the choices.
Yeah.
I would have fun with it.
Because it's really, I mean, you're really just recasting the three characters. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's it. I mean, you don't have to really recast any. I mean, you can go a couple others, but like they're the main characters. And like,
I have one guy in mind already that I know I would cast, just because I like it. I like his style.
Yeah. There's a guy. Yeah. There's some guys out there that we could.
I would do, and I would actually do, I think, like a mixed race cast too. Like, I think I would try to do an African American, a Latino guy, and like maybe a white guy.
Oh God. If you do that,
or you could.
Oh man.
How about if we did it as like the Three Amigas and we did like three women? That would be cool.
Both. We could do both.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
But we can't because
it's on the
we didn't pick it.
We didn't pick it.
Yeah.
That would be like casting an entirely different movie. That's not a recast.
We'll have to remember that for when that pops up. Like we'll do Three Amigos and Three Amigos because we like to do more than just three characters. So
yeah, but for that movie, it's just those three. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I wouldn't go beyond those three.
Yeah. All right, I like
that's
that.
Fun.
But we'll do that at some point. Did we add a different one on there for something else? No, the OFN of Ryan Reynolds.
I really want to.
OFN of Will Ferrell.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Mount Rushmore of TV shows with. What does that say? 5 seasons or more.
The OFN of Will Ferrell for me, it actually would be pretty easy, I think. I know what the forever one is. That's.
Oh no! So the Mount Rushmore of TV shows with 5 seasons or less. So that's kind of like shows that didn't quite make it, but you thought were awesome.
But did 5 years is. But if it's 5 years
or less,
yeah.
So it could be 2 seasons, and if you loved it,
there could be some ones that
didn't even make it a full run, but you're like, what the hell?
That's fun. That's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, and we have our recast. We have Mount Rushmore of college athletes on there.
Yep.
I don't know if I love that one.
I do, just because I like college sports.
Yeah.
So. And that would be my Mount Rushmore of college athletes. I wouldn't do like a specific.
We have another Mount Rushmore that we have to put in because we just did a Mount Rushmore. I don't know what we're gonna do yet though.
Okay.
Because we have one more Mount Rushmore. We could also add something else in different. It doesn't have to be Mount Rushmore. Do whatever you want.
I gotta think. I love doing the Mount Rushmores though. They're good.
We could, you know what we could put on there? We could put a drunk episode.
Oh, a drunk.
Like we have to do the drunk episode, like on a Friday night. Like so, we would have to come back.
Oh, that's a good one.
During the week, we could do that instead of a Mount Rushmore and be like,
yeah, why don't you do that? Swap it out. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
So that could be put in there. Like we have to. All right, cocktails and sports and sorts.
Could be a Funko Friday with some alcohol.
Yeah, a little evening. You know, I'll have a couple glasses of bourbon. You'll have some of your fine beer.
It'll be a craft.
Your fine IPAs.
Yeah.
All right, so that's pretty much it for our show today. We will. Let's see. How about this one? How about this one? Does that seem more, or is this?
Yeah, sure. sure. It's upbeat.
Yeah, it's a little bit. That sounds like it's time to go. All right. Thank you for watching the show. It's been a 2-hour bonanza today. We will see you again next Monday. And we will put Drunk Episode up on the wheel. And also, you can find me on Twitter at Einhornersfinkel. You can find the show at Shane and Bryman. Find it on Facebook at Shane and the Bryman. You can find the Bryman.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at _Bry_man. And as you know, we've reached the end of the show. And in the immortal words of Tony Stark, this guy right here.
Hold on. There you go.
Part of the journey is the end, but we will be back next Monday. And again, stay classy, Planet Globe. And also, again, remember, solemn day of remembrance today for our servicemen and women who we've lost in the line of duty. We cannot thank you enough for your service and your sacrifice.
Wearing the American flag shirt. You got honor to your uncle. Got the 1776 hat on.
Yep.
Oh, man, I went bananas on Voodoo. I was like all those good war movies, like The Patriot,
still my favorite war movie of all time, The Patriot.
Like all of those movies were all on sale.
Yeah.
And I was like, buy. Like I was like, finally, I can get all the war movies.
I mean, again, regardless of what you think of Mel Gibson, man, The Patriot is that is my favorite war movie ever.
He gives some great speeches in movies like that.
Oh man, dude, there are just some crazy scenes in that movie too. One of my favorite scenes, and this probably goes to show you how like fucked up I am in the head, in the movie The Patriot, because like his kids were kind of really annoying at first because all they were doing was questioning their dad. Like they kept questioning him about because the guy had been through wars before. He had been in the French and Indian War, and he really didn't want any part of this.
Right.
So he was very reluctantly forced back into it. His kids like questioned, I think, his patriotism and to some extent his courage. And then his one son gets taken by the British Army, and he has to go through like the forest to knock them all off to rescue him. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, he just hacks this one guy to fucking pieces in the river. And his kids are all watching in horror and shock. And they were like, holy shit.
So that's what war's like.
So that's what war's like. We will never question our dad again. And Mel Gibson just goes, when I say hacks that guy to pieces, like that is some kind of crazy scene. He's got that tomahawk axe and he's just going to town on that guy and the blood is just flying up on him. And the kids are just like,
welcome to war, kids.
Right. Like war is not fought in jets, it's fought on the ground. There's no planes dropping bombs. We're muskets and courage on a battlefield. That's it.
Yep. Yeah, I also wanted to touch on like some other things because I went into yesterday was just a complete. This whole weekend's been kind of a washout. But I watched me and the kids watched Night at the Museum. So I only got to watch that for the first time. You know what? Guess what movie that was? You kind of quoted a little bit on during you and Cash were like quote machines. Started with like
Tommy Boy.
You were talking about how like the Russian was cut we didn't watch Rocky, but like you guys were just quoting up a storm when we were playing golf. But one of the ones that I think it was on hole like 16. You Virginia Doubtfire.
I know.
We watched Mrs. Doubtfire.
I know. I oddly went into a Mrs. Doubtfire imitation, which was strange. Huh?
We watched Mrs. Doubtfire, but then by myself, I watched Starsky and Hutch. I watched Old School. I was like getting this.
And then for whatever bizarre reason, last night I decided to just I just marathoned the Pitch Perfect movies.
Yeah.
I love those movies. I don't know what else to say.
They're good. They are good. It's a heated miss.
That was so great. I was quoting that as that was happening.
And then a couple of books that I've been listening to. One that I finished recently about a week ago, which is Casey Wilson. She was in a show that I loved, Happy Endings, and
it's a great name for a show.
She was Penny Hart, but she wrote a book, and it's called it's essays of her, and that's The Wreckage of My Presence. It is a disturbing,
deep,
but funny book. If you like the show, if you liked her, you might learn a little bit more about her. And sometimes you get a little bit too much information, but overall, it's an entertaining book. Definitely kept me hooked. But the book that I'm listening to right now, which is absolutely hysterical, it's another essay type book, and that is Seth Rogen's Yearbook.
Oh yeah,
it is. There are times I am like laughing out loud, big time, like during that. Like, oh my God, that's hilarious. It is a very funny book. And you learn a little bit about him and his family too in it too. So it's
yep.
Very,
That
very
man
funny.
just has an unbelievable a passion for weed. I mean, he really just does. He just, I mean, love something or someone like Seth Rogen loves marijuana. I mean,
him and
Snoop, really.
Snoop-a-loop.
Yeah.
Hey, bring your green hat.
I think Howard Stern actually had Snoop and Seth Rogen on at the same time.
That's
once.
amazing.
It was a great show. It was a great show.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, Seth
'Cause
Rogen
those
talks
two guys
about
were just
about
like-
his love for weed in the book, and how like he like it's something that he needs to like almost
Yeah.
like function.
Yeah. Which, I mean, listen, as you know, I think you know, I've never even had a drag a pot, but I also don't, it's not like I have a holier than thou view on it.
Yeah.
I actually have no problem with people doing it. I frankly, I actually wish it was more widely available. I think it's a boon for the economy,
Yeah.
but, you know, yeah, I mean, man, is he passionate about that. It's just like, seriously,
Yeah.
he has passion for that. Like, I don't know, I guess like if you're not going to include things like family, but like if, you know, I guess like my passion for sports, you know, or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, movies, Jaws. I don't know. Does he love weed like I love Jaws? I don't know.
Probably more.
Yeah, maybe.
But all right, that's pretty much it for our show. Thank you very much for watching, listening, however you took it in. We appreciate it. And we will see you next Monday. Peace out. I was going to put the thing on the screen again. There it is.